What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the corner. I want to open up with an apology for some of the coverage I've been doing on Ukraine, Russia. I'm new to this. I've said I was new to it, but also that doesn't excuse maybe believing things at face-ish value. I think I'm used to seeing, spin in terms of like Hollywood news or even like local politics or even things with like the coof. But the level of spin that is in existence when we're talking about war is on a whole nother level. I think I was kind of caught up in the underdog story. It's not as if I didn't understand the basics of it, but I think where I need to improve and will continue to improve is proceeding with less emotion and more skepticism, even more than normal. It's like a different level covering this stuff that I need to do better at. And so I will do better at that. I think the idea, some people's criticism, which, I understand why they would say that is, hey, don't cover the stuff that isn't in your wheelhouse. I understand that, and that is not necessarily bad advice out of hand, but this is something I do want to be able to cover. And the way I grow is by failing and failing fast. When I was in corporate America, I would always say that as my biggest strength was failing fast. I don't get deterred by negative feedback. I like when you all correct me. The last video I did earlier today had like almost a 10% dislike ratio, which is very high for a video I would do. But I know that you're just doing that because you want me to do better, because this is content. It could be very valuable, but I have to just be more careful. I have a video later today about the ghost of Kiev, and a lot of people are saying that is fake. I felt like I was fairly skeptical of that in that video, so I don't mind publishing that one. But I would expect that by Saturday, hopefully you'll see me take a much more skeptical approach. I don't think I was quite ready for the level of the propaganda machine that this brings. That doesn't mean inherently anything I've said up until this point is just wrong. But let me give you an example of how I should have worded something maybe. I think the story of Snake Island, people are saying that it's basically just being spun as this like positive wartime propaganda thing. Yeah, I could see that. I didn't play that angle. I just kind of said, look at these dudes and their ultimate sacrifice, and I that is true. I stand by what I said there. But like also, they also got turned into a red mist. And the initial title of the video too, I think was too cringy. I've got to get better at titling the videos when I'm covering something this important, this serious. It can't be over the top and baity. It just it can't be. The feedback too about like avoiding picking sides to me isn't like saying, oh well, I don't want to pick a side, because my default would be like, not siding with the person currently invading somebody. But also understanding, taking the afternoon here to read more, basically, of the history from 2014 until right now. I've started digging deep. But it can be a valuable lesson that I think, not just for me to do in real time and to get better, but to people who are viewing content, right? It's easy to get sucked into this crazy, awesome story of some ace pilot that took down 6 Russian jets. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. And I think it's okay to report on that. But where I failed to say was like, hey, let's, if this is true, cool story. But also like Russian troops are literally like embedded in and around the capital right now. Ukraine is putting out a lot of propaganda, as is Russia. And I think I just set my default in my head to like, oh, the Ukraine's on the receiving end, so everything they're saying must be true. That was stupid. I obviously still support Ukraine and condemn what Putin is doing. I don't think any amount of digging will will change that. But I do think it's an important, learning lesson. As we see NATO kind of approaching, it's difficult to know exactly what sources to follow. Mainstream media is as untrustworthy as it's ever been. I started following people on the ground in the Ukraine. I'd definitely take your suggestions in the comment section down below, because I need to get better information. Because, as time goes on, when things like this happen, I need to do a better job reporting it. So your feedback is heard and appreciated. Even just as of a few minutes ago, NATO official says we will do what it takes to support Ukraine as response force is activated. This is NATO Secretary Jens Stoltenberg saying Friday that NATO will do what it takes to defend all of its allies, including Ukraine, and every inch of NATO territory, confirming that NATO response force has been activated for the first time, really in history. U.S. also plans to impose more sanctions on Russia's Putin as soon as today. The United States is planning to impose sanctions on Russian President Vladimir Putin as soon as Friday, two sources familiar with the decision. These sanctions, I'm not sure will do anything, and it's also a question of how long will you keep them imposed. You've got to believe that Russia did plan on all these sanctions happening. They have China backing them, of course. And so that's kind of like all the allies that they need. Now, they sell a lot of oil into Europe. Europe certainly could squash that. I read earlier today that they are exploring some more sanctions, the removal from SWIFT banking. It's tough. I think the reality is, from what I see, even there's this Gavin tweeting, Ukraine's entire defense strategy at this point seems just to be PR stunts, photo ops, and telling everyone on Twitter that Russians are being routed. Meanwhile, Russia is occupying the suburbs of their capital. It's true. And there's a lot. Maybe they're just, I don't know how much resistance they're getting. It's certainly being reported by several places that they were repelled and then they came back in, and that, the citizens are arming themselves in hopes to defend themselves. I think this is, a scary situation for everyone involved, and a growing one for me too. This is like a different level that, I wasn't ready for, but I'd rather learn on the job than like sit out and think I can never try. Maybe I'll fail at it. Maybe I'll just stick to Star Wars instead of actual wars, and that's fine too. But I do want to cover this kind of stuff. I think it's great to see that people are supporting Ukraine. Lots of Russian protesters are anti-war, supporting Ukraine. There's a meetup in Washington, D.C. coming up on the 26th or 27th. Actually, I'll bring that up for Americans to support them. A rally, Stand with Ukraine. This is on the 27th. It's nuts. It's complicated. I'll share less opinion and try to be more factual and skeptical of what I'm reporting, even from mainstream media, because who knows? They let us know what they want us to know. Pictures can be doctored. We saw video game footage going around. At least that I knew was baloney sausage right away. But there's pictures of old conflicts floating around on Twitter that are being used as saying, oh, this is happening right now in Ukraine. That's not the case. There's enormous amounts of misinformation. flowing around out there. So I need to be more careful, and I will be more careful. And I hope that you'll continue to hold me accountable to that, because I want to do better.